X-Men Apocalypse has a rather rocky reputation, not being as well liked by fans, being seen as a regression, especially in light of the strides superhero films made ever since the X-Men trilogy was made in the early 2000s. Is it as bad as they say? Let's take a look. I'll say this, the opening scene is a very strong one, taking place in ancient Egypt. En Sabah Nur, a name that sounds hilarious to Arabic speakers no doubt, is depicted as an aging and dying old man, needing a new body. Luckily, Oscar Isaac is there, and has a healing factor, meaning that he'll live a lot longer. Apocalypse intends to transfer his essence into him in order to keep living. This isn't unprecedented for Apocalypse. Fabian Cortez from the X-Men animated series, for example, ended up becoming the vessel for Apocalypse in that series. Can't say that he didn't deserve that. However, fed up with the BS Apocalypse put them through, the Egyptians seal off En Sabah Nur by collapsing the pyramid. This results in most of the horsemen dying, but not before the last one protects Apocalypse by forcing him into the life support armor and then shielding him. Not gonna lie, when this happened, this movie had my attention. They did a great job at demonstrating not only the power of the horsemen, but making humanity actually smart enough to overcome the mutants, something that, I don't know, will persist in the form of the Sentinel program. Really sets up a nice humans versus mutant dynamic. Speaking of mutants, we cut to the 80s where Scott Summers is having issues with his eyes because his mutation is about to emerge. Where do I begin with this? First off, the decade-hopping quirk isn't cute. It's annoying when your characters like, I don't know, the professor don't show visible signs of aging. Second, continuity in this trilogy is weird. When was Cyclops born again? Because if it's before 1973, then the events of Days of Future Past altering the timeline really wouldn't have changed anything. Then I would be questioning a lot more because I don't think Scott was that old in the 2000s when the X-Men trilogy took place, but I could just be misremembering. Obviously, Scott's mutant power awakens, then we cut behind the Iron Curtain. Mutants behind the Iron Curtain are found and put into cage matches. This includes Nightcrawler, who is forced to fight Angel. Where do I begin with this scene? If you want more development for Angel, I'm sorry, but you're not getting it. He's worse than X-Men 3 The Last Stand's Angel because he doesn't have this conflict with his father, his identity issues, any other insecurities. Hell, he's just a cage fighter in this film. Meanwhile, Nightcrawler doesn't get much either besides being the funny foreigner once he gets to the Xavier Institute. I think he had more of a character in X-Men 2. Then again, he was the focus of that movie, but still, this is not great. Also, the way Mystique punches a guy is noticeable that it was staged. I wouldn't point this out unless it was really noticeable. Then we cut to Communist Poland, where Magneto now lives. Everyone said they're gonna die the moment they showed up, that being the wife and the child. Seriously, look at her. This plot is practically screaming, kill this kid. Kill this kid. We cut back to the Xavier Institute where we see Havoc take Scott to meet the professor. Yeah, Havoc is Scott's brother, and it's easy to miss that if you didn't know their comic history or watch any of the shows, because that's really glossed over in this film. He then bumps into Jean Grey. After demonstrating that Scott is a plant murderer, he is enrolled in the Xavier Institute. I'm okay with Scott. I'm not okay with Jean. Jean, why do they do this to you? Stop trying to set up the Dark Phoenix saga. Stop trying to act like Jean is some kind of ticking time bomb so you can have the Dark Phoenix saga. You can't do a good Dark Phoenix saga if you can't do Jean Grey first. It's annoying to see this character constantly defined by the I'm so powerful that I'll go Dark Phoenix and I can't control my power. For crying out loud, give us character traits and relationships that we can latch onto and give us a reason to care about Jean Grey. X-Men Evolution didn't touch the Phoenix for several seasons, and it was only a passing mention in the finale of that show. And honestly, I at least gave a crap about Jean Grey in that show. Speaking of Grey, I'm glad we haven't gone over the blue-gray filter of Eastern Europe when it comes to this Magneto plotline. Yeah, Magneto saved a guy with his powers earlier, and now the police are after him. If you want to know the context behind this image, Basically, the Polish police aren't stupid and attack Magneto with bows and arrows. Nina, Magneto's daughter, causes a distraction by taking control of the animals because that's her mutant power, which results in this guy accidentally shooting, I kid you not, both Nina and Magda through Nina's body by accident. And while the physicists in the audience could do the math on how realistic it is to shoot a person through another person with a bow and arrow, it really doesn't matter the physics of it all, because how this scene plays out, it's freaking hilarious. Magneto does have great acting, and Fassbender does a great job, although I heard Polish audiences were laughing at Magneto because his Polish isn't the best. But at least the scene is dramatic. After the one in a gazillion shot that kills both of them, I mean, it's just hilarious. I can't understand how anyone saw this and said, yeah, this is going to be good drama. It works with a gun, but it doesn't really work with a bow and arrow. So anyways, in Egypt, Moira infiltrates a mutant religious movement and accidentally allows Light to touch the Pyramid of Apocalypse, which reawakens him. Apocalypse saves a thief who eventually becomes Storm. Let's talk about this Apocalypse design. I don't like it. Not just because I saw the concept art for the film, but the issues seem to be that the design of Apocalypse actively inhibits his movement. How a character moves is also a way a character conveys emotions, which isn't something you want inhibited. Hell, it looks like Oscar Isaac has a difficult time even moving his head to face the characters, which I don't even need to explain why that's an issue. If you can't do something as basic as move your head to face a character, then that's going to be hell when it comes to action pieces. In terms of powers, they're okay. I just wish he was a bit tall and imposing. Apocalypse sort of has a random grab bag of powers in the comics, but one thing stays consistent. He is imposing, and I don't think Oscar Isaac is that imposing in any of these scenes. Anyways, Nightcrawler to the Xavier School. And you're probably wondering, comic fans, is Mystique his mother just like the comics? To which I say, the hell if I know, this movie can't decide who to focus on. You're probably asking, what's the hell with all these cuts? That's how the movie's like, oh look, Jubilee's here and everyone's headed to the mall. We can get some character moments. Psych. Oh look, we don't get those moments because Apocalypse needs to show off that he needs more horsemen, and then we had to get this reunion between Raven and Hank and Charles, and then we get a Cerebro scene, and Apocalypse is chucking all these nukes into space and hijacking Cerebro, and Havoc has to smash Cerebro, and then Charles gets kidnapped to be Apocalypse's new body, and then the Quicksilver scene, and then finally, we get some focus back on the next generation of X-Men because we had to focus on the fact that Scott's brother Alex just got obliterated, but hey, don't let the dust settle yet because we had to deal with this other subplot with William Stryker. Hey look, Wolverine is in this movie. For crying out loud, if you needed to desperately explain how the X-Men got a jet and the battlesuits, have Moira go to the president to ask for these things, and have her basically tell Mystique, hey, I got you these things, please come back from Egypt alive. Now, to the Horsemen, let's take them down. Quicksilver, Mystique, talk no jutsu Magneto. Angel, get killed in a falling jet. Storm, defect. Psylocke just leaves the plot not betraying Apocalypse. Then Jean does this Phoenix thing because apparently the Phoenix Force happens and she does this Firebird thing. Why? Why, movie? And then we end this movie with arguably the best suits in the film franchise, and then we keep them for like, what, 5 seconds before the X-Men decide to discard them for Dark Phoenix. Why? Why would you do this to me, movie? The end. This movie has so many issues that it's very easy to notice on a first viewing. This movie can't decide who it wants to focus on. Does it want to focus on the next generation of X-Men? Because if it does, then it does a poor job building up the relationships between them to get us, the audience, to actually care about them. In fact, 3 minutes of deleted scenes consist of mall scenes that would help give them some level of personality. And honestly, I watched the deleted scenes and I was like, okay, this is good, but we could do a lot more with them if only we didn't spend 15 to 20 minutes with Stryker and the Weapon X facility detour. Like, why would you even put this in the movie? Storyline wise, it really serves no purpose. Heaven forbid the future of the film franchise be, the focus in their debut movie. Instead, we need to focus on the first-class melodrama. Not even the first-class melodrama, more like Raven Charles' Eric Hank melodrama. Alex Summers is a footnote in this at best. I think the only thing of note he does is bring Cyclops to the Xavier Institute and die. And look, I liked Days of Future Past, but maybe we should have gotten a trilogy focusing on the first class cast first, before we focused on the next generation characters. Because it's not just the heroes who suffer from the focus issues, the villains also suffer from them. Angel, like I said, is less interesting than what happened to The Last Stand because he's just reduced to a cage fighter and just Archangel, the horseman of the apocalypse, because we don't have that drama between him and his father anymore. We don't have the drama over his identity as a mutant. We don't have the drama over his fear of him being outed as a mutant to the point that he's trying to cut off his own wings. He's just some asshole in a cage fighting other mutants, getting hurt, gets drunk, and then becomes Horseman of the Apocalypse. That's it. We get Psylocke as a villain here because she felt that Caliban couldn't give her the same opportunities as Apocalypse could, because after all, she was just a smuggler behind the Iron Curtain. Not sure why she's operating behind the Iron Curtain. Maybe there could have been a story about Captain Britain, but I know for a fact that Olivia Munn went on the record saying, you do realize that Psylocke has a twin, right? You could have used him, maybe? Not sure how the rights worked. Seriously, she said that, the producers and director didn't really know much about Psylocke's character, not even knowing that she had a twin brother, which is kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, I don't think it would help, mainly because this movie has way too many characters in it and someone got the cutting board. That someone was also Storm because she joins Apocalypse because it's pretty clear that we have too many characters, too little focus on said characters, and the distribution of focus needs a lot of work. In terms of characters, I find it very strange that the Horsemen of the Apocalypse weren't just mind controlled by Apocalypse. I mean, these people did help Apocalypse destroy a good chunk of Earth's infrastructure and kill a hell of a lot of people. I'm sure their wanted posters say the things that they aren't wanted for, because that would make the wanted poster a lot shorter. The things they actually did are probably way too long for even the internet. You're kind of pushing the boundaries of narrative sympathies when you redeem these people, except Psylocke and Angel, without much fanfare. This movie has good elements that can be done, however, it's bogged down by very poor economy of basically everything, from characters to where the budget's going to just plotting. If they spent more time just having a very clear roadmap, then maybe this movie wouldn't be such a mess. That's it for this video. Please consider liking, subscribing, tipping the channel on Ko-fi. This is Cyril signing off.